Welcome to my living room. My name is Anna, and this is day one of our posture series focusing on the pelvis, and more specifically, how do we differentiate between movement in the pelvis versus movement in the hips. So before we get started, a quick thing I want to introduce you to. My friend and teacher Laura Hyman started this. She calls it the triple S. And what that refers to, the first S is going to be your skull. So just the back of your head, really specifically at the top of your neck here, the base of your skull. And then the second S, we move down into the shoulder blades or the scapula on either side here. And then the third S is your sacrum. So it's this triangular shaped bone right at the base of your spine there, kind of right above your butt. So just to put that in your brain before we get started. I will be using a strap today, and I'll also be using a block. You can also use a stack of books, something block-like, if you don't have blocks handy, but no worries if you don't have anything. So let's start off on your back. And just finding any comfortable position there. Legs can be straight or knees can be bent. And then just take one hand to your belly and one hand over your heart. So we're going to start out with a 1-2 breath. And so all that means is that your exhale is going to be twice as long as your inhale. So I like to do an inhale for a count of 4 and an exhale for a count of 8. And you can shorten or lengthen that if you like. It could be a 3-6, even a 5-10. So just allowing yourself to play around with that. Go ahead and close your eyes there if that's comfortable for you. And just start to check in with your breath. And beginning to inhale and exhale through your nose. And then we'll begin counting the breath there. So we'll inhale for a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and pause. Exhale for a count of 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we'll just do that 4 more times. So you can shorten or lengthen that. So whatever you're needing today. Nice. As you finish there, you can go ahead and open your eyes and stretch your arms out, stretch your legs out. And we'll just start to look at that triple S feeling here. So feel the back of your skull, just kind of lightly pressing down into the floor. And we're lengthening from the base of the skull up. And then feel your shoulder blades, your scapula, right and left, resting on the floor. And then finally feel your sacrum, that triangular bone at the base of the spine, lightly pressing into the floor there as well. And just take a moment to, just like we're collecting, we're just gathering information, right? And seeing anywhere that feels like it's maybe lifted up away from the floor, or if you feel one side more than the other. Right? We're not criticizing or judging that, but we're just taking in that feedback. And then with that awareness, start to step your feet to the floor so your knees are bent. And if you have your block, you can just grab it there so it's handy. And then take your hands to the front of your pelvis. And you might be able to feel on each side these bony protuberances. They're the frontal pelvic points. Now, if you take kind of the outer edge of your palm onto each one of those points, and then bring your thumbs up towards your belly button, and bring your index fingers pointing down toward your pubic bone. And so we have this little diamond shape. And then imagine that everything underneath your hands is drawing together and down. So it feels like you're almost drawing down toward your sacrum. And now keep that feeling, but start to push into your feet and feel your glutes, feel your butt start to turn on a little bit. And then keep that feeling. We're just gonna lift the hips up, right? So it should feel like the back of your hips, like your glutes are working quite a bit there. So this is hip extension, but notice that we're not letting go of this diamond in front. So we're not letting the pelvis tip forward and arch in the back. We're keeping this nice neutral pelvis. The tailbone is lengthening down. It's a small move, but you should feel a lot of engagement happening. And then keep that feeling. You can take your arms straight up toward the ceiling, and we'll just stretch out the wrist, taking the left hand, pulling the right fingers back. I should say, if this bothers your knees at all, you can always walk your feet forward a little bit and even lower the hips down and just really work on getting these glutes to turn on. Go ahead and switch hands, pulling the left fingers back. And then go ahead and grab a hold of your block if you've got it there. And I'm going to take it on the lowest setting here and slide that right underneath my sacrum. So you'll feel that kind of the top of your glutes are resting on the block, right? But the lower half of your glutes are off, and we're lengthening the tailbone down. So your butt should still be pretty active there. And then take that diamond shape with your hands again. So thumbs toward the belly button, index fingers down toward your pubic bone, draw everything in, and then lift your right knee up and set it down. And then left knee up and down. Keep going there. And then once again, we're just taking in that information. So notice if you have a tendency maybe to shift a lot side to side in your pelvis, or even to let kind of that pelvis spill forward. And we're drawing down into the sacrum there. So you should really feel the sacrum on the block. And if this is new to you, just notice what it feels like to move within the hip joints without moving the pelvis. So if you're used to moving in like these really big ways, it might be a good practice in just kind of reining that in a little bit and seeing how maybe less could actually be a lot more, right? This is a lot of work if you're not used to it, and even if you are. Go ahead and keep the right knee up here. Fingers can be in that right hip crease, and we're just going to internally and externally rotate in the hip. And then set the right foot down, left knee lifts up, fingers in the hip crease, internally, externally rotating in the hip. Right, so small movement, but we're keeping that pelvis in neutral. To still have kind of that diamond feeling that we had earlier. And then go ahead and set the foot down, come up off of your block there, and then bring your hands behind your head. Cup your skull, fingers are interlaced. Take an inhale breath here. Exhale, lift up off the shoulder blades. So gaze down at your belly and see if you can have that same feeling that we had with the diamond, right? So we're drawing together and down. Inhale to lower. Exhale, come up off the shoulder blades. And then this time, if you like, pick up the right knee. So the knee is over the hip, hugging everything together and down. Set the foot down, inhale, lower. Exhale, come up off the shoulder blades. Left knee lifts up and then hug down in the belly. We're just kind of leaning the head back into the hands, chin is down. Set the foot down, inhale, lower. Exhale, come up off the shoulder blades. Right knee comes up, and then this time, a little tiny turn to the right. We're staying up off the scapula, up off the shoulder blades. Come back through center, inhale, lower. Exhale, lift up. Left knee lifts. Turn just about an inch to the left. Pull everything down into the sacrum. Back through center. Inhale, lower. Let's do that one more time. Exhale, lift. Right knee comes up. And now push into that left heel. Feel that left glute a little bit. Turn just an inch to the right. Whoo, a lot of feeling. Come back through center, foot down. Inhale, lower. Last one. Exhale, lift. Left knee comes up. Push down into that right foot. Feel the right glute. Turn just an inch to the left. And back through center. Release. Let's come around into a tabletop there. I am going to use a blanket for a little padding for my knees. If you would like to grab a pillow or a blanket, you are welcome to do the same. Grab a hold of your block if you've got it. I'm going to place it on the sacrum, and we're just using this as feedback to give the lower belly something to lift up into. So it's still like that diamond feeling in your lower belly. Spread your fingers nice and wide, shoulders over wrists, hips are over your knees. And then bring your right hand behind your head. So get that triple S feeling even here of lifting the back of your neck into your hand without jutting your chin. Push the floor away with the left hand. And then feel that space between the front pelvic points lift up into the block. Are you breathing? And then bring your right hand back down to the floor. We'll just switch sides there. So left hand behind your head. Lift your throat, lift the front of your face, like up into your hand. Push the floor away with the right hand and lift those front pelvic points. Lift your lower belly into the block. And then we'll set the left hand back down on the floor. Now we're going to come into a downward facing dog. I'm going to show you a variation with blocks. If you don't want to use blocks or you don't have them, you would just have your hands flat on the floor, same thing. So hands are about shoulders width apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide and then tuck your toes under. We're going to take the hip creases and send them up toward the ceiling. Let your head relax there. And then push the hands into the blocks or into the floor and feel your shoulder blades actually slide up toward your ears a little bit. Right? And we're keeping that feeling of the diamond in the belly, the hip creases going up. And it should feel like work. It should feel like we're creating some more space in the back, but it should feel like you're working. Now let's take your right leg and reach it up. You can bend your knee here and then pull those front pelvic points together and just start to circle your right hip. Right, and notice how easy it is here to like get all wonky in your pelvis, right, and do a lot of movement there. I want you to see if you can keep your sacrum level and just move in the hip. and then switch directions. And then we'll set the right foot down, switch sides there, left leg up, bend the knee, and just start to circle. So you can imagine almost like someone was balancing a glass right on your sacrum there and back. And we're trying to move the hip without disrupting that. And then go ahead and set that foot down. We're going to step your right foot forward. You can always grab a hold of your foot. Give it a little hand there. And then lower your left knee down. So we're going to bring your right hand back to your sacrum and bring your left hand behind your head. Now lean your face back into that left hand and then kind of lengthen the base of your skull up. As you do that, with the right hand, draw your lower belly back toward it and kind of lengthen down with the right hand. And you want to feel this left glute working. It's going to help you open up into the front of your left hip. And let's just take 2 more breaths there. And then you can bring your hands back down, floor or block. Let's come back into downward facing dog. So you can be up on your toes there. Hip creases are lifting. Feel a lot of energy. And then as you're ready, we'll step the left foot forward. You can always give it a little hand there. And then lower the knee. And so this time we'll take your right hand behind your head, left hand to the sacrum. Notice here that your hip is directly over the knee. So this is kind of like a half kneeling position. And then feel like you can lean your face back into your hand and then lengthen the base of your skull up. With the left hand, draw the low belly back into it and lengthen down with that left hand. And as that right glute turns on, right, it's like this really yummy stretch at the front of the right hip. Right, so it's not always necessary to go super deep into stuff to really get a lot of that opening there. And you've just got 1 more breath. And then go ahead and bring your hands down and actually going to come down onto your belly. And this is where if you have a strap, or you could even use a towel or a blanket there. So we're going to take whatever you've got, and it's going to go right over these front pelvic points. And you're going to be laying on that strap on your belly. Okay. You've got your strap in place there, and that is just there. It's providing a little bit of feedback. So go ahead and bring your forehead onto your arms. And let's start by bending the right knee. And then push the front pelvic points into the strap, into the blanket, into the floor, whatever you've got there. And then I just want you to put your brain like into your right glute. Be like, hey buddy, turn on. And see if you can start to get a little bit of engagement before we move on there. And so just imagine you're going to lift the leg, but you're not actually lifting it. So even just that thought of lifting the leg can start to get you some engagement there. And then if you feel ready for it, see if you can lift the leg and lower it back down. So keep going there. And then feel that you are lifting your lower belly up away from the floor a bit, right? And so we are just moving in the hip. So we're just using that glute to extend in the hip without letting your back arch and your butt kind of like pop up there. And it's gonna feel a lot harder to do it this way, but so much better for your lower back in the long run. Whew, already burning. Go ahead, let that right leg come back down. And we're gonna lift or bend the left knee. And then lift your lower belly up a little bit. Push the frontal hip points into the floor. So you feel more of the base of the pubic bone pushing into the floor. And then just start to think about that left glute. Like if you were gonna lift the leg, can you get that big muscle, the glute, to engage first? And then if you're ready, you can start to lift and lower and keep it going there. So always a good idea when you're working really any part of your body, but a lot of times the glutes, because they're so important, they're behind us, we don't see them, it can be harder to kind of form this connection with them. So just put your hand just right on your glute there, give it a little love tap, right, and send it a little bit of encouragement. And if you don't feel like it's engaging, right, at first, don't get discouraged, right, just let this be something that you can come back to. And then go ahead and let that leg come back down. You can press into your hands there. And we're just gonna lift up into a tabletop. So last little move here. Coming into your tabletop, spreading the fingers, feeling the throat lifting up, feel the low belly lift up into your sacrum. If you wanna put that block on your sacrum, again, you can. But we're just gonna hold that feeling. See if you can take your right leg out to the right a little. And down. Left leg out to the left. And down. Keep it going there. Less is more on this one. And just see how level you can keep your pelvis as you move in the hip. Right, so we're not letting the lower back arch like that. Keep that diamond together in the front. Let's do one more each side. Whew. And then you can just come around onto your back. Once again, just find any comfortable position there. Knees can be bent, legs can be straight. And we'll just take a few moments to close out here. And just noticing any difference that you feel, maybe specifically in your pelvis, but also how that affects the rest of your spine. How it affects your energy, moving in a way that is integrated, that's sustainable, that holds our energy well, so that we can be more present, and so that we can show up in bigger ways for ourselves and for everyone around us. As you're ready, you can open your eyes there and just wiggle your fingers and your toes. And you can roll over to your side and push up to a seat. And just finding any comfortable seated position there. And just take a moment, thank yourself for showing up today and allowing yourself just to be open to a new way of moving, a new way of thinking. And just allowing yourself to notice and feel the effects throughout the rest of your day, throughout the rest of your week. Thank you. See you next time.